Welcome, Facebook viewers. My name is Brad Bodis, and this is the Bond and Bodis Facebook Live. The Bond and Bodis law offices are located throughout Alabama, throughout Mississippi, and we're in the Knoxville area in Tennessee. And we help people with money problems. We have been practicing in the bankruptcy law area for over 30 years. We've helped thousands of people, and we know that these are hard times. We know a lot of people are having financial problems, and during this time, we want you to know that we are offering absolutely free initial consultations. We're doing them by phone or video, so you can do them from the comfort of your home or your office. We want to be safe. We want to make it convenient for you, but we want you to reach out for help if you need it. We are trying to address topics that we think would be of interest to you, our viewers, our clients, people that may visit one of the Bond and Bodis offices in the future. And today we are going to talk about estate planning, and more specifically, estate planning for people, elderly people that may have financial issues, that may need to be in bankruptcy for some reason or another. And I am very pleased to have with me Stephanie Garces Donay. Now, did I pronounce Donay right, Stephanie?
You did. Thank you, Brad.
You're recently married, I understand. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So professionally now going through the name Garces Donay, but I am the owner of Garces Law, which is my firm that I started before I was married.
Well, that's fantastic. I wanted to make sure to pronounce the name properly, because with a last name like Bodis, I get boats, I get bakes, I get OTs, I get everything. So I wanted to be sympathetic to that. But to our viewers, Stephanie is one of the top estate planning attorneys in the Chicago, Illinois area. I think her reputation goes beyond that, but your office is specifically in Arlington Heights, Illinois. Is that correct, Stephanie?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. It's about 30 minutes from Chicago, so I definitely service the Chicagoland area, and that's a pretty general way to say it. But yes, it's about 30 minutes from the city, like downtown.
So, Stephanie, if you would, just tell our viewers a little bit about you and your background and your areas of expertise.
Sure. So as I mentioned, for the viewers that are just hopping on, my name is Stephanie Garces Donay. I'm an attorney, owner of Garces Law Firm in Arlington Heights, Illinois, where we help parents really protect their legacy and make sure that their assets are protected in the event of an unexpected absence. And so that is really my message. I always say my mantra is helping clients prepare for the unexpected. As we know, this past year, I should say, has been very full of unexpected events. And so I do primarily estate planning. I do some real estate work as well, and probate. So kind of those all complement each other really well, because one way or another, they're kind of married, and if you get a case, there's always different areas that all are connected to that. And so that's primarily what I do. And I really have been enjoying doing it, because I've been meeting a lot of different people and at different stages in their life that need the services.
Well, we're both in interesting areas of the law, because both estate planning and bankruptcy are areas that people really don't want to talk about, because they don't want to accept the fact that there may be financial issues they need to talk to a professional about, or that at some point their life might come to an end and they need to plan for that point in their life. Now, you also do your own Facebook Live that I want to talk about. It's called Pink Mike Legal Profession. Is that it?
Yeah, so Pink Mike Legal Confessions. As you can tell, I have the pink mic here. And yeah, so I do have a Facebook Live series. We go on Tuesdays and at 2:30 Central Time. And similar to you, Brett, I was just telling you before the show that you'd be surprised how many people actually view these after, we have our initial live. And I also have a YouTube channel, as you probably do as well. I think that that's also available to anyone who's looking to catch up on the videos after our discussion.
Absolutely. And to all of our viewers, What we're going to talk about today, I think, is important to a lot of people, and it may be important to somebody that you know that isn't listening in today. All of our Facebook Live videos live on our Facebook page. We also have them on our website. And Stephanie, yours also, I know, are available on your Facebook page.
Yes.
And you have a great website. So if you are in or near the Chicago area and you need a great estate planning attorney, Stephanie is the person to see. Now, coincidentally, the person that helps me put these Facebook Lives together, I said, I need to talk to a top-notch estate planning attorney. And she, of course, told me about Stephanie and the work you do, and that you do a great job of talking about what you do. But when we were introduced, we realized we had a different connection. So I grew up in the Chicago area. My background, I lived there for the first 20 years of my life. I've been in Alabama now for twice that. But my great niece, Gabby Bruno, is a friend of yours. She went to high school and law school with you. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. So we went to high school together, and we were on dance team for many years together as well. And coincidentally, we met at again and connected at DePaul Law School in Chicago, where we both graduated from. So very ironic in a small world, Brad, because as I mentioned to you, you never know who knows each other, but I hope Gabby watches this and hope she's doing well. But yeah, we do have a connection here. So it's just great to know that the connections do matter, right? It's you all know the same people. The world isn't that big, so people know each other.
Well, it's one of the wonders of social media, because I pulled up your Facebook page and I said, boy, we have a mutual connection here. And so Gabby's grandmother is my cousin Jackie, who I love very much. And Gabby's great-grandfather, Jackie's father, Phil, was my godfather and really a mentor to me. In fact, I named my second son after him. So
wow.
Very small world, and it's just a thrill to have you on. And I want our viewers, as lawyers, sometimes we use legalese, they talk about. We use terms that may not make a lot of sense to real people. So tell me, in terms most people can understand, what does an estate planning attorney do, Jennifer?
So that's great. So that's
Stephanie, I'm sorry.
Hey, you know what? People do think I look like Jennifer's, but unfortunately.
That was good. Thanks.
No, people have called me that, so don't feel bad. So yeah, so kind of in a nutshell, I preach about this every week, it's in my Facebook Lives, but estate planning, the best way to describe it, it's kind of like a basket. We're going to call it a basket. And when you are living, you have assets as you progress in your life. You first started off as a single person. Maybe some of you are still single. That's fine. You meet your significant other, and then maybe you have children, and you start accumulating more stuff. And so the estate plan, I always explain it like a basket, where you put everything into the estate plan or into the basket to try to protect it in the event that you're no longer here. And so the estate plan essentially creates a legal way to do a couple of things: to protect your legacy, to ensure that the heirs are named and that things that you have go to the people that you want, as opposed to the court deciding what goes where, and also gives healthcare directives or powers of attorney in the event of incapacitation. So those are things that are really relevant to your life. I always say the powers of attorney are equally as valuable as any other mechanism of estate planning. It's just that the powers of attorney are used when you're living, whereas like a will is used when you're no longer here. But altogether, the essence is that you're protecting yourself, your family, your legacy, and the generations to come. And this really does matter when you're no longer here, because when you're here, you make an estate plan, you have a say. You get to pick who the guardian of your children are going to be in the event if something happens to you, rather than having family members fight over it, or the court has to get involved and appoint the guardian. So there's a lot of things that happen, and I call it the basket because we want to make sure everything gets into your basket so that you can pass that basket on to the next family member without any issues. And that really is the goal of when I meet with clients, is I try to explain to them, we got to get everything into your basket. And more often than not, that is the best analogy to explain estate planning without boring everyone about it.
Well, but Stephanie, it's so important. And to our viewers, maybe you're young, maybe you say, well, I don't need to worry about a will yet. But little things, when you have your first child, I always tell people that's the time you want to talk to a good estate planning attorney and make sure you name who you would want to be the guardian of that child if something happened to you, if something happened to both you and your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want a court just making that decision for you. You want the opportunity to express that and provide for your child, make sure that monies are managed properly. There are a lot of options. So to my viewers, I encourage you, if you don't have a will, if you haven't done estate planning, reach out to somebody. If you're in the Chicago area, Stephanie is excellent. Absolutely suggest that you reach out to her. Our contact information is on our screen here. If you're in Alabama, you're in Mississippi, you're in the Knoxville area in Tennessee, near one of our offices, folks, we do primarily bankruptcy work, but first and foremost, we want to help you. So if you have a legal issue, don't ever hesitate to call us. If it's not something we handle, we'll help you find the most qualified attorney. And I always say, Stephanie, and I think you probably agree, the best place to find a good attorney is by asking an attorney. We know who the good are. We know who the not so good are. If somebody calls me, I'm going to make sure they get to the right attorney.
Absolutely. And in many ways, I think you made a great point, Brad. You want to have people reach out to you as a point of resource, because I think it's easy to do a Google search and that works, but it's always good to get a warm referral so that you can kind of have another professional really sort of review whether or not that person is a good fit for your needs. So yeah, that's a great point.
And I'm just going to hammer on this point for one more. Picking the right attorney, whether it's for estate planning, whether it's for financial issues, whether it's for a personal injury matter, is very important, folks, that you have a good trust, a good relationship with your attorney and with your attorney's staff, that you interact well with the people, because, I know if you hire us to handle a matter, or if you handle Stephanie to handle an estate planning matter, it's not something you want to just be in and out with. You want to have a relationship. You want to be able to call and ask questions. You want guidance going forward. So make sure you pick an attorney that you feel good about and that you trust. So, Stephanie, I want to talk specifically today about estate planning for older people, but specifically the fact that it seems more and more older people are having financial problems today. Now, I have my own theories as to why that is, but I want to talk about that generally. I want to talk about what people can do with their estate planning, and how people can protect money that they have. Stephanie, what, in your opinion, from what you've seen, why are more and more older people having financial challenges right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brad, because I did have a consultation just yesterday with someone that's in our category, what we're talking about. And I think there's a number of issues. I mean, as long as we understand, like, generationally, right, everyone thought about money differently, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, as we do now. And one of the things I think about is that a lot of times this happens because older people not necessarily anyone in particular, but sometimes they do not have the proper, we're going to say, knowledge maybe of how to run their finances, or perhaps they have someone else doing it for them, and they don't necessarily see the budget or day to day, where is my money going in, where is it going out, and quite frankly, I think it's more so becoming common that a lot of people, as we get older, do have someone that's kind of looking after their affairs, and I'm seeing that more and more, where a client will come into me, will come see me, and they're older and elderly, we're going to say, and they come with a granddaughter or a grandson, and this person happens to also be the person with the checkbook, or perhaps the one that balances checkbooks, if they still balance checkbooks now, but that sort of thing. And I think there are a number of factors that you could think of, but that's what comes to mind when I think about some of the financial issues. Also, there's the good amount of elderly people that do take out like reverse mortgages that I think tend to be maybe a conversation for another day, but they are really hard, because not everyone can see the pros and maybe more the cons than anything with those issues. And I know that has led elderly people to having certain issues financially when it comes to that. And in addition to that, there's also now the forbearance that has been offered so eloquently by some of the mortgage companies that allow individuals, and elderly people are not are included in that, but to do the forbearance. I don't know if you're seeing this a lot, Brad, in your practice, but people think the forbearance means I don't have to pay this for the time being, and it's waived, when in fact it's just held off until you pay it. What you didn't pay, you pay it later, and that I know has led to financial challenges for elderly individuals. So I hope that answers your question, but that's what comes to mind when I think about that.
No, I think that's great. You're spot on with some of your observations. I would just supplement by saying, and I can say this because although I'm not quite elderly yet, I am a senior to you. You're much younger than I am. I think two big things that have changed. One is that, people in the generation before me, many of them had pensions with their employers. As long as they worked for a certain number of years with a specific employer, then when they retired, they could count on that regular pension check. Very few employers offer pensions anymore, so people are reliant just upon Social Security, which is not enough to really live on in a way that people are accustomed to. And then, good or bad, my parents and many people in the generation before me grew up during the Depression. During the 1930s, and many people from that era were very prudent, very fiscally conservative with their finances, learned how to budget properly, and that's not done so much anymore. People don't learn to really budget effectively. To you young people, there's a way to determine whether or not you have money other than going to the ATM and seeing what your balance is. You should do a little bit more than that.
Well, I love that you brought up the Great Depression, because I was going to go that route, but then I was like, let me not pretend that I was actually living or at the time. But I will tell you that I've had family members that lived during that Great Depression, and they tell me funny stories about how their parents didn't trust the banks, and so the money would be in tin cans in the basement, or they'd have money stuff under the mattress. So to me, that's a foreign concept, but I can totally understand why that was. So that, I think, like I was saying at the beginning with the generational thing, there has to be a school of thought, right? That generationally people have thought about money differently, like generations before, me and you, perhaps, as opposed to now where everything is online. So
yeah, it's times are certainly different. Credit is certainly a lot more easy to come about today than it was. Even when I finished high school and started college, I remember applying for my first credit card, and it was just a credit card for a gasoline station, and I got turned down.
What?
It was a small credit card because I didn't have enough credit history. But Credit cards are easy to come by and they're dangerous, people. I can tell you from my perspective as a bankruptcy attorney. So we've talked about things that cause older people to have financial problems. You also mentioned that often it's a family member that brings somebody in to talk to you or to evaluate the needs of the individual. We certainly see that in our practice. What would you say are warning signs that a older family member may be having some problems?
Yeah, and thank you for asking that, Brad, because I think a lot of times, it's hard to decipher, right, for someone that maybe is doing it subconsciously, or some people are not shy about it at all. But I would say the ways to really know is when you are speaking to an elderly person, right, and you're kind of, even if you're with them alone, it's better than when someone else is in the room. But if you're speaking with them and you realize that some of the decisions that are being made are not being made with their consent, or perhaps without their knowledge. Or one thing I see often is, I don't want to call it abuse, but it's kind of is level of emotional abuse and manipulation with family members that will say, well, I know what's best for mom. And, everything she has goes to me, when maybe there's 6 other heirs or children that are in line. So some of the obvious things is when clients will come in and they're with their elderly parent, and they'll say something like, mom, we should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this, and you should do that. It's like the entire consultation, or perhaps even the conversation we have on the phone, is the child or adult child telling elderly mom or elderly dad what needs to be in the document. And it's essentially what is a form of just making decisions on their behalf, when the person that is sitting here that is elderly is very capable of making the decisions themselves.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and you went a direction there that I wasn't expecting you to. Excellent advice. I was more looking for just warning signs that, I may see that mom is not, her refrigerator doesn't have as much food in it as it used to, or maybe I noticed from the power company. But you talked about, and we see this in our practice, certainly from time to time, people that come in with their adult children, and the adult children are trying to steer the boat. I want our viewers to know that if you come to see one of us, or really any attorney, you have the right to talk to that attorney alone, and you should. In fact, what I'll often do is if I suspect that may be an issue, I will say I need to talk to the person I'm giving advice to alone initially, and then see if they're comfortable with a family member coming in. And I'll use attorney-client privilege as a reason, which may or may not be a good reason, but I'll use it to make sure I at least have a small time to talk to the older person alone. But the other end of that is recognizing that somebody that you do love and care about may be having financial problems. Pride is a big thing, especially for older people, and especially for older males. We're often very prideful, and we don't want to acknowledge when we have a problem or having some difficulty getting along on our own. And it's just a natural part of aging. As we get older, we are going to need help physically, and we're often going to need help with our finances, just in managing our finances properly. So if you see that a parent or a loved one is getting a little bit older and may not be managing things as well as they used to, talk to them about it. And as Stephanie said, talk to them alone. Don't embarrass them in front of other family members or other people. Show that you care, show that you love them, and say, look, we can go talk to somebody confidentially to get some help. I think it's just so important, because The anxiety and the stress that goes along with not being able to pay your bills it's tremendous, and especially in an older person that's taken care of their own affairs all their life. You gave an excellent example, maybe even by accident there. You talked about balancing a checkbook. Heck, my kids don't even know what balancing a checkbook is. Everything is online now. They're good with their money, but if you see an older person struggling, with a pen and trying to make sure things add up, that may be the first sign that they need a little bit of help, that they need a little bit of just loving care in managing their finances. So what can you, as an estate planning attorney, do to help on your end protect that nest egg that an older person may have amassed through a lot of years of hard work?
Absolutely. And, every client is going to come in with different layers of complications of their estate. But in the most basic form, there's trust. Living trusts are very frequently done in my practice because it really does fit a lot of people that have maybe are nearing now they are mentally capable of doing everything now, but maybe nearing an age where they may or may not have, we're going to say, full capacity mentally. I've had plenty of clients that have early signs of Alzheimer's and stuff like that. Or like you said, Brad, maybe financially, they're just thinking, okay, I have all these things. How do I do this? Well, a living trust is a great way to create a document that really does two things. It protects your assets. It moves everything into your basket. Again, the example of the basket, so that when it is moved into the basket while you're living, at least in Illinois, when you pass away and everything is in your basket and you have your trust, there is no probate. There is no conflict of, oh, so-and-so wanted the house and so-and-so wanted this. You already done that. So it really eliminates that for your family, stress, like you said, anxiety, and also having to go to probate. And so really a living will is kind of, a living trust is very commonly used to protect assets in this scenario. And I love what you said earlier, Brad, and I apologize if I misunderstood your question, but when people are struggling, they could be struggling also to understand what they need to do to protect their family. So you should always try to help them with that as well, because I am getting more and more people calling and, maybe in late 80s, mid 80s, where they're realizing they have a lot to protect, but nothing in place. And so that's something that would be recommended to them.
Stephanie, I think it's important, and I understand, but if you could explain in simple terms the difference between a living trust or a revocable trust and a will, for people that may not understand legalese, explain just the basic difference between those two.
Sure. So the will is essentially a document that you leave an executor in charge of your affairs. And that is a document that also allows for you to pick guardians. If you have children, you want to appoint the guardian. The will does that. It also, you could leave specific instructions. For example, I want to be buried. I do not want to be cremated, or I want to donate my body to science. That's really popular right now. So that's kind of what the will does. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions is that the will avoids probate. And that is not true. The will, unfortunately, is only a piece of the pie, I always say, of what you actually need to really protect your family. So if you have an estate or you are worth more than a certain amount, usually it's $100,000, the will not avoid going to probate. It does help in the sense that we've appointed an executor, someone to oversee your affairs, but it doesn't necessarily, as a matter of law, really avoid your family going to probate to open up an estate on your behalf, which is the thing we want to avoid as estate planning attorneys, because it's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's just downright stressful. And the trust, this is a document that you can actually create while you are living, and that is used while you're living and or you're passed away, or if you're incapacitated. And so I always say the trust lives a parallel life. And I always do this because it shows, basically it lives a life with you while you're living. So you could use the trust to put your house in it, because we have to put it in your basket. And then when you go to sell that house, the seller is the trust. And so that is very different than the will that's used and effective really when you are no longer here. And again, the trust does allow you to avoid probate, whereas the will does not. So there is pretty big differences between it, but I think you're right, Brad. I think people get lost in the legalese. So I'm hoping that, making it a little bit more simpler to understand will at least allow our viewers to understand the difference between them.
I think you just did an excellent job of explaining the difference between the two. Now, again, without getting too deep in the weeds here, most living trusts are what we call revocable trusts, where you can change things as long as you're alive and as long as you're of sound mind. You can make changes with that trust. For an elderly person, or really any family member that may be having difficulty managing their money, I know that with a non-revocable trust, you can use something called a spendthrift clause. I assume those are also recognized in Illinois. If you can, explain to our viewers what a spendthrift provision in a trust would provide.
Yeah, and so the spendthrift, I always have trouble saying it. It does kind of address this issue if you are having trouble managing the funds. It allows someone to step in your shoes, we're going to say, to assist you with that. And this is really specific because most times most people will not need it at the time of signing their trust, but a lot of them do. And so that is something that as attorneys we put in there because it allows for a better understanding of, in the event I can't do this, then this would happen, which is kind of going back to the living trust scenario where the trust in general that lives a parallel life with you, so that in your life, if something happens, the trust again has value in that because it doesn't wait until you're passed away for it to be in effect. It could be used right away. So everyone should really consider that. And I know most of our viewers, may not understand if a trust is needed for them specifically, but you'd be surprised, most people, given their net worth and given if they're working and they have a home, that in itself may or may not be, a good qualification to be a candidate, we're going to say, of someone that might need a living trust. But again, for our elderly folks, if you do need something specific in the event that you're no longer mentally capable of doing things on your behalf, that's where that clause would come in.
And I probably see this end of estate planning a whole lot more as a bankruptcy attorney. The way I look at a spendthrift provision in a trust is the trust is set up for the benefit of an individual, and the trustee, is the person overseeing that trust, determines how the money in that trust is spent. If there's a spendthrift provision, it says essentially that the person for whom the money is being managed can't go out and get into money trouble. The money in the trust is only used at the discretion of the trustee, usually for something like the health, education, and welfare, but it's at the discretion of the person overseeing the fund. So if you have an older family member, or really any family member or loved one that may be having problems with managing their money, and the money is necessary to provide for their care, talking to a good estate planning attorney such as Stephanie about a trust with a spendthrift provision. Now I'm having a hard time saying spendthrift. S-E-N-D-T-H-R-I-F-T, spendthrift, folks.
Spendthrift, yeah.
Important estate planning tool for somebody that may have difficulty managing their money. We're going to take a break here in a second and then take some questions from our viewers. But a note I had made before you even mentioned it is the importance of having a good power of attorney. I think it's just become more important because people are living longer today than they used to. And they may live beyond a point where they're able to effectively manage their own affairs. And so I always advise that they create a good, durable power of attorney. So please, if you would, explain what a power of attorney is, why it's used, and why it's important that it be durable.
Sure. So before I answer the question, please refer to the state that you're in, because every state needs certain we're going to say verbiage in it. So the powers of attorney are specific to the state. So that's the first thing to note. So if you are thinking about doing this, make sure you consult with an estate attorney that is in your specific state to help you with this. But the idea is that the power of attorney, a durable power of attorney, is extremely useful because this is essentially giving, we're going to say, a legal right to someone to make decisions on your behalf for your health care and or if there's any financial, we're going to say, things or affairs or transactions that need to take place. It gives them a power to do that because there are two different powers of attorney. There's one for healthcare and one for property. But in general, very important because they're really used for in the event you become incapacitated in your lifetime. So this could mean that, you know, unfortunately, you are in a coma, or perhaps you got into a bad accident and you're not all there. And so this is just kind of the idea for the power of attorney that everyone really should consider, regardless of income, regardless of your status, regardless of where you're at in your life. This, unlike the other we talked about, these are for everyone. And as you know, Brad, we are all destined to leave this earth one day. And so the power of attorney really applies to all of us. And again, it allows one person, whether that's someone that you've appointed or it could be a family member, it's someone you specifically have picked to make decisions on your behalf. So for example, let's say you were on life support. If you have a power of attorney, then you have already directed a specific person, let's just say it's your spouse or it's your, you know, mom or dad, to make decisions on whether or not, assuming that the physician says you're not going to make it, for example, whether or not they can take you off life support. And the benefit to this is that someone that you know personally in your life is the person that's appointed. If there is no power of attorney, no one has a legal right to make decisions on your behalf like that. So it really takes the power away from you as a person when you do not have those documents in order. So I hope that answers the question, but it's kind of a long-winded one because I don't think everyone really understands the value of something like this until it happens, unfortunately.
And by the time it happens, it's too late to go out and get that power of attorney. Now, you made an excellent point. Talk to an attorney licensed in the state that you live in or where you need the help. It's so important. And again, if you're in Illinois, Stephanie is an excellent resource for this type of assistance. If you're in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, one of the states in which the bond and modus law office is practiced, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. We'll help you find the right attorney for whatever need you may have. You know, I want to expand upon what you said just a little bit. Not only is it important to find an attorney licensed in the state that you live in, but it's important more and more to find an attorney that specializes in the field in which you need help. Estate planning has so many nuances. There are so many different things you can do, so many decisions that can have large impacts later that can't be undone. You know, you can't rewrite your will after you die. You can't redo a power of attorney after you become incapacitated or you become or you're on life support. And folks, we know, you know, we're attorneys, we know that there are websites, there's software out there that says that they'll help you do your estate planning. Folks, these decisions are too big to try to save a few $100s by using a piece of software or going to some website. Where they'll do it without talking to you individually, assessing your own individual needs. Whether it be the area in which Stephanie specializes, which is estate planning, or if you're having financial problems, talk to an attorney in your state that specializes in the area of law that you need help with. I've just seen far too many mistakes that people have made by trying to save a couple $100, and it ends up costing them many times that amount, or their family members who they love and they care about in the future.
And if I was going to say, Brad, if I could step in really quick. So
sure.
This is a great point because nowadays, especially for my generation, I'm a millennial, and millennials like to go online and Google and LegalZoom. And I saw this on LegalZoom. Why do I need you if I have LegalZoom? And so I just wanted to add to this because Brett is 100% right. The cost is too big. Your life and what happens to you in the event of an accident is way too big of a decision to leave it up to LegalZoom. And so, not to badmouth LegalZoom, I'm sorry, but I'm just saying that the online options usually are what, as attorneys, I should say, is what we're competing with. But in reality, we are very well aware that the consumers do need to realize that LegalZoom or any sort of online platform that allows you to make a power of attorney is not specific to your state and may or may not be updated to the verbiage that the physician or a hospital will actually accept. And this is imperative because, when you are in a bad situation and you are on life support or perhaps, incapacitated, these things really matter. And so I just want to point that out to the viewers because I know a good amount of people that value saving money, but would you value saving money knowing that the document may be meaningless when it comes down to using it? So I just wanted to point that out, Brad, because I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, I often get the question, and I'm sure you do too. People ask, well, how much does it cost to file a bankruptcy? And I say it costs a whole lot less to do it right in the first place than it does to fix it if it was done wrong. And I'm sure the same with estate planning, it may not even be something that can be fixed.
Right.
But certainly these are far too important of issues to try to save a few bucks here. Find an attorney you trust, find somebody with a good reputation in the area of law that you need assistance with, and pay that attorney what they're worth. Stephanie spent a lot of time in school and spent a lot of money getting her education and her degree, and she takes a lot of pride in making sure that the legal services she performs are tailored to her clients and their individual needs. We do the same at the Bond and Botus law offices. Just quick break here if you tune in late. My name is Brad Botus, and I'm an attorney with the Bond and Botus law offices. This is our weekly Facebook Live. We do these every Wednesday at 1:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we discuss the important issues that impact people in our community. Today, we are very fortunate to have Stephanie Garces-Donay, who is an excellent estate planning attorney in the Chicago area. If you need help, please reach out to Stephanie. Her contact information is on the screen. At the Bond and Botus law offices, we help people with money problems. Our offices are located across Alabama, we're throughout Mississippi, and we're in the Knoxville area in Tennessee. We know with all that's gone on over the last year, a lot of you are having financial problems. Our offices are providing absolutely free initial consultations with a licensed attorney, and we will just talk about options. We'll help you plan. I'm a bankruptcy attorney, but my objective is to keep you out of bankruptcy. We'll help you make decisions so that you don't need to seek bankruptcy protection. But on the other hand, if you get to the point where you You need to save your home. You need to save your car. You need to stop a wage garnishment. We're here. We'll help you. We'll provide the best quality of care we can. If you're interested in a free initial consultation, which we'll do by phone or video from the comfort of your home or office if you'd like, call the number on your screen or visit our website. On our website, you can get some more information, and then you can fill out a form there and request an appointment if that's easier for you. Now, going back to today's Facebook Live, well, we're talking about estate planning issues and assisting older. That term elderly, as I get older, I have a harder time with it. Older parents, family members, loved ones with their estate planning and financial issues. These are topics that we have addressed and we'll discuss a little bit further. Stephanie, we're starting to get a few questions coming in here, and I'm going to give you a chance to answer them. And as I look at them, some are bankruptcy related, some are estate planning related, so we'll kind of pitch in together.
Sure.
The first question has to do with a topic that you raised earlier, and that's the topic of reverse mortgages. So this individual says, what is a reverse mortgage? And is this a good option if my parent can't afford to pay their mortgage?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because I've seen the bad side of reverse mortgages. And then I've seen some good ones where I'm like, okay, it's not a horrible idea depending on the person, but reverse mortgages are a tricky topic because I think they're commonly misunderstood, maybe is a good way to put it. I think, although it does make sense for some people, and usually it's a mortgage loan that's secured by a home, and it enables the person who took out the loan to access the we're going to call it encumbered value of the property. And so it's good in the sense that it allows the borrower, who's the owner, we're going to say, to have money coming in. But it could be kind of difficult in a way too, because somehow I've seen it kind of feel like a rat wheel, maybe is a good way to put it, where, when you do go to sell it, you have to pay it off and whatnot. But I actually have seen the situation where I've had clients pass away when there's a reverse mortgage, and they come right away and they want it all due. They accelerate the loan, and there's some nuances that are in the we're going to call it fine print that is in the reverse mortgages that say, you need to pay this immediately. And when I say this, it's like the heirs, or whoever is going to inherit that debt if there is anybody. So I don't necessarily think it's always a great option, but it could make sense depending on the client. So I think it just depends, but I think you really do benefit from speaking to an attorney that deals with real estate. I know I do a lot. I get a lot of questions about this. And so speak to an attorney before you sign off on something like this, because there just needs to be a better understanding and maybe an educational process of what a reverse mortgage is, because I do have an inclination to see that there is some sort of misunderstanding or misconception on truly what it is, because I know that they advertise it a certain way, but the fine print does say other things that may or may not be in your favor. So I would tell you that if you're thinking about doing this, please consult with a real estate attorney that may be able to guide you and explain to you what a reverse mortgage is before your parents just sign off on it, because there are other options. The reverse mortgage is not the only way if they can't, in fact, afford their mortgage. Brad, what do you think about that? Do you think that's kind of have the same thought on that?
I think so. It's reverse mortgages are really like anything else. There are good ones and there are bad ones. Unfortunately, Stephanie and I see the results of a lot of bad ones.
Yep.
Slick sales jobs. The television commercials sound great. You're going to have all this money to go out and play polo or golf or do whatever rich people do. But it's not always as great as it sounds, and there are a lot of factors you need to be aware of. What you're talking about doing here is giving an ownership interest in your home to some company And this company is not doing it just because they're nice. They're doing it to make money. They have a financial incentive. So certainly before you or your parents enter into a transaction as significant as a reverse mortgage, consult with a good lawyer. Talk to somebody like Stephanie that can help you analyze the situation. And there, again, are often very good options that would provide better alternatives than a reverse mortgage. So this next question is more of a bankruptcy question. And the question is, will bankruptcy help save my parents' house? This, again, is a state-specific question. Even though the bankruptcy laws are federal laws, each state has its own set of exemptions. That means the amount of property you're able to keep if you file a bankruptcy. So, for instance, in Alabama, an individual that seeks bankruptcy protection can protect $15,500 worth of equity in their home, which isn't much. An individual in Mississippi seeking bankruptcy protection can protect up to $75,000 of equity in their home. And then there are states like Florida and Texas that have an unlimited homestead exemption. Your home can be worth millions of dollars and you can protect it in bankruptcy. But yes, bankruptcy can. I can't tell you it always will, but it can protect your parents' homes. There are different types of bankruptcy. The exemption number that I just talked about, $15,500 here in Alabama, is usually important if you're filing a straight Chapter 7 bankruptcy, where there's a lot of credit card or unsecured debt, and you need to get rid of that debt. In a straight bankruptcy situation, you can protect your home as long as there is not too much equity in your home. And then there are reorganization types of bankruptcy. For individuals, it's almost always a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy can be used to stop a foreclosure. We can file a Chapter 13 up until an hour before the foreclosure sale. Hopefully you come to us before then, but we can use it to stop a foreclosure sale and then give you a chance through a plan filed with the bankruptcy court to catch up the payments you're behind on and save the home. So what we see, Stephanie, is, again, that younger family member realizes mom and dad may not be managing their affairs correctly. They're behind on their mortgage payments. There's a foreclosure sale set. Mom and dad are brought in to see one of the attorneys at the Bond and Bodas law offices. We realize that the money's there. It just hasn't been managed properly. We file that reorganization bankruptcy to stop the foreclosure sale, stop any kind of automobile repossession, any kind of drastic creditor action. And then we formulate a plan to help that individual work their way out of debt, save their home, save their car. Certainly something that can be done through a bankruptcy if necessary. All right, so I think you may have already answered this question, but maybe we use different terminology, Stephanie. This individual wants to know, what's the difference between a living will and a regular will?
Sure. So that's a great question because I think it's very confusing. The living will basically is a document that kind of complements, we're going to say, the healthcare power of attorney. And it just tells the physician, and actually the physicians really use it in practice for do not resuscitate documents, so we're going to say, or paperwork they have you fill out. And so the living will has everything to do with, in the event there's an emergency and the healthcare power of attorney does need to be used, it kind of just explains, what your wishes would be in that regard in the case of an emergency. But the last will is very different in that it's used for your instructions, we're going to say, upon your death. And so that's the difference. One of them is used while you're living, and the other one is used while you're no longer living. And And like I said, in practice, at least in Illinois, we do use them in conjunction with the healthcare power of attorney. And there's different schools of thought with this too. I've heard several attorneys say that they don't mean anything. But I always think that it's good to mention it to your attorney just to make sure that all your bases are covered. If you're cautious like I am, I always think it's a good idea to complement it with your estate. So that's really the difference. And yeah, if you have any questions, you could always contact the attorney before you start the estate plan about that, because I know there is some confusion between the living will and the last will, because I think people do use those words synonymously.
I think you're right. I think you explained the difference well. In fact, you made an additional point that I want to make sure our viewers understand. A lot of folks are familiar with the living will term, and they know that they want their doctor or the hospital that they're treated in to have a copy of their living will. But the living will needs to be supplemented by that healthcare power of attorney. The living will, correct me if I'm wrong, but the living will expresses my desires as far as extended care, as far as certain life-saving medical procedures. But then that healthcare power of attorney authorizes a loved one, a family member, a trusted person to express those sentiments for me.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. And I think that's why they complement each other. I think in practice, definitely the living will sort of explains your desires and your wishes, in the event that they have to make a decision. We're going to say a split time decision in regards to your healthcare, but it really is a directive to the physician, advanced directive we can call it, that just states your desires and your wishes, where yes, the power of attorney appoints the actual person that would make the final decision, have that legal right that we talked about earlier to make decisions on your behalf regarding your healthcare. So that is the difference, but the living will is definitely important because it does kind of elaborate further your wishes in regards to that situation that you would be put in.
Another great explanation. This is why you do estate planning law and I do bankruptcy law. You can explain this stuff much better than I do. So one more question here I want to get to. We're nearing the end of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time, Stephanie. But this question is, what's the best way to transfer property to a relative? Can't I just transfer my home to my children and not need a will?
Yeah, that's a really great question. This is a very popular question because everyone is worried about what's going to happen to the house. So there's different options depending on the individual. But if we're talking about an estate plan, the best way to transfer a property to relatives is through that living trust that we talked about, because that really encompasses the procedure of what would happen upon your death, in particular with the house. Now, as I mentioned before, you're going to put that house in the trust because you're going to listen to your counsel's advice, and then you'll do that when you're living. And what's nice is that if you do have that living trust, upon your death, that property will automatically pass through to whoever you've appointed to have the home, or perhaps it could be the person that is the trustee of the trust. So it will already be left in the instructions of the trust for the trustee to go ahead and take care of the transfer to the relatives, if there is any. So that's one way to do it. There's a number of ways, but of course, the most recommended way is Illinois. In Illinois, at least, is with the trust, because again, if you fail to move that property into your trust where you specifically wanted to go to the relatives, and you've passed away, you're really out of luck. I mean, there really isn't any way to undo this, to revise the trust. It's just too late. And so that's
more importantly, just to interrupt you, it's not you that are out of luck, it's your loved ones that are out of luck.
That's true. Yeah. And yeah, your loved ones are out of luck. And I just had a client come to me on this, and it's like, there is no more that we can do as attorneys. Everything has to be done before, you've passed away. And so that is the best way to transfer the property, really, within the relatives. And I know that's a big question that everybody has, which is why I always say, make sure that you consider doing a live-in trust if it makes sense for your family, because that's the only way you'll avoid any conflict and going to probate. again, with the house.
And I want to just supplement, again, Stephanie's excellent advice with two factors. And this is, I think, something we see more from a bankruptcy perspective. Be very cautious. A lot of people say, well, I'll just get a quitclaim deed, again, off the internet or from some, software, and I'll just quitclaim my property to family members. Two big problems. Number one, if you have a mortgage on that property, there's almost certainly what's called an anti-alienation clause in that mortgage, which says you can't transfer ownership in your property without permission of the mortgage holder. And if you do, they can hold the mortgage in default or foreclose. So, again, if you're going to transfer an interest in your property and there's a mortgage, you need the permission of the mortgage holder. Mm-hmm. There could be very significant tax benefits to transferring your home either through a living trust or a will as opposed to just quitclaiming it. I'm not going to get deep in the weeds again here, but there's something called a stepped up basis that will usually provide a lot better tax consequences if the property is transferred via a trust or through a will as opposed to just signing a quitclaim deed. Be careful about, again, just completing a serious form such as a quitclaim deed, something that you pull up off the internet. Get advice of a good attorney. Stephanie, we are running up near the end of the hour. You have provided just some great advice for our viewers. I'm so thankful to you. I want to emphasize again to our viewers, the information that we share today it will live on our firm's Facebook page. It's also available on our website. All of the Facebook Lives we've done are available. So if you know somebody that might benefit by what you've heard today, share this with them, pass it along to them. We do these Facebook Lives every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. It's the Bond & Botus Facebook Live. And Stephanie, if you would again tell us the name of your Facebook Live and when it airs.
Yes, it's Pink Mike Legal Confessions. Look out for the Pink Mike on Tuesdays at 2:30 Central Time. And we also are on Facebook Live and have all the videos up on our YouTube channel under Garces Law, so you can catch up afterwards.
Well, and I'm sure, Stephanie, I've watched videos of a couple of your presentations, so I know, but I'm sure for our viewers, great topics, topics of interest. And you may want to tune in also to Pink Legal Mike Confessions. I like that. I need to come up with a name like that and a fancy microphone like you have too.
Well,
so if you need help, please reach out, whether it be with an estate planning issue up in the Chicago area, reach out to Stephanie and her firm, or if you have a financial problem and you're in Alabama, Mississippi, or Tennessee, please reach out to one of the Bond & Botus law offices. We truly do care about you. We truly do want to help you. Stephanie and I both attended a lot of school, and we did it because we really want to help our clients. Somebody comes into one of our offices, you're like family to us. We're going to do the best we can to help you. So again, thank you, Stephanie, and to all of our viewers. Until next week, God bless all of you, and thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for having me.